Calisthenic guys can talk shit about CrossFitters whatever they want. They do bad form, CrossFit is just a way to injure yourself, and they don't even know how to do a pull-up, etc. However, CrossFit is definitely way more commercially viable than calisthenics competitions are by a huge chunk. The first prize of the 2025 CrossFit Games was around $300,000, whereas the first prize of FIBO Endurance was around $800 to $1,000. That is an absurd gap. How do we make calisthenics endurance competitions more popular? As somebody who loves doing calisthenics, I would like to see endurance competitions or any competition whatsoever reach the heights of popularity of sports such as basketball or soccer, to the point that we see pull-up bars and parallel bars in most schools. However, even if calisthenics is known worldwide, the competitions are not popular at all. Why is this the case? There are a lot of reasons why calisthenic competitions might not be as popular. There are inherent reasons for the sport itself, such as the entry bar required to do a certain number of pull-ups. Compared to the most popular sports, in order to do calisthenics, you will need to train first before being able to do. What I mean by this is that you need to have the strength before doing a push-up or pull-up. Or even, we can go to extremes and talk about skills like planche. If you go to the streets and see the people around you, how many of them could do 5 good form pull-ups? Or even just one muscle-up? In contrast, most people can dribble and shoot a basketball. This makes the entry bar to experience the sport significantly higher than other mainstream sports, which inevitably takes away the possible connection that a person who doesn't know about calisthenics could experience. You could argue the same about CrossFit, but in CrossFit you could simply decrease the load in the case of any external weight. We can see the same thing happening in most Olympic sports, or even a good example of this lack of connection is the fact that people are more surprised by a handstand push-up than a planche, or they get more surprised by a muscle-up than front lever. We can see the exact same thing happening in gymnastics, where the entry bar to even do the sport or some elements of the sport are so fucking high that the average person simply cannot understand any of it. There is also a main issue. Calisthenic endurance competitions are boring because you are just watching two dudes working out. How could that be interesting? I think the same argument can be said about every single sport. You could say that basketball is just some guys dribbling and shooting a ball. In my opinion, there are a lot of ways to improve the viewership and popularity of endurance calisthenic competitions, and most of those methods are found also in different sports. The first way is to give more context to the viewer and give him an emotional connection to compel him to watch. To do this, we could use a screen that showcases who is winning or losing. Watching sports is like watching a story. Most sports have a clear score. Without a score, it doesn't really make sense watching because you don't know who is winning or losing. Therefore, there is no conflict or stake at play. In those moments when it is going to end, you can feel the tension in the air. Those moments make viewing sports memorable, such as a buzzer beater in a basketball game. However, without context, there is no tension, no build-up, no narrative or story, and therefore there is no point in watching. When you see a calisthenic endurance competition, there is rarely a score. You get to see the circuit or the amount of exercises and reps that must be done, but you don't see or get a reminder of where each athlete is at as the competition keeps going. Most often than not, you're just watching the exercise they are doing, but not where they are at. Numbers are so important because they form the common point that we all can understand. For example, you will say that gymnastic rings are not that popular, not only because of the high entry bar, but also because the judging is subjective to each judge. Whereas a basketball game has a clear score between teams. In the case of gymnastic rings, you will need to be trained to know if there is a close scoring between athletes, whereas everybody can understand if one team is winning in basketball. If you can add a screen where not only we see where each athlete is at the circuit, but also the amount of reps he has done, then the viewer can casually come and see and become interested. It will make the high-tension situations more noticeable. In the case of videos or live streams, an overlay that shows the exact same thing would be great. The second thing that could make calisthenics competitions more popular is casters. Every great sport has great casters, especially a duo of them. Casters or commentators are a great way to add context about the athlete's participation or their backgrounds. If you have watched any endurance competition, you will know that eventually we reach a tipping point where the muscles are so fatigued that the athletes decide to rest, which inevitably makes certain points of the circuit basically a cluster set. 3 reps, rest, 3 reps, rest, you know it. In these moments, having 2 casters that could talk about the circuit, facts of the exercises, how hard the exercises are, how the athletes are doing the exercises, correct form, a bunch of things could be talked about. Also, adding commentary to tense situations really makes everything better. The third thing is a panel of commentators and interviewers to talk about the matches that just happened. Between matches, there is always time in between to get ready for the next match. Within that time, it would be great to have a panel of commentators that could talk about what just happened, the expectations, and even interview the winner or loser. The fourth thing is changing the format into a 1v1v1v1, meaning a 4-player round. Changing the format has its own positives and negatives, but the only reason I believe this could be more engaging is that there are more chances for underdogs to win or the underdog story to happen. Imagine a guy that has been last all the time to suddenly quickly surpass the rest of the 3. This will also make the competition more tense because imagine a 1v1 where there is a clear superiority. It wouldn't be that tense or engaging, whereas a 1v1v1v1 will make all the athletes worry, which is great. Battle Royales are popular for a reason, and I think adding 2 more athletes wouldn't hurt. The brackets could be divided into 16 or 32 or even 64 people. The fifth major thing might be a bit controversial for endurance competitions, but it is the addition of more calisthenic skills and the elimination of weighted calisthenics. The reason for this is that it definitely increases the entry bar, but it will make it more engaging, at least in my opinion. For example, imagine doing 60 dips and then having to do 33 handstand push-ups. It definitely will be really interesting to see. Obviously, this is a Pandora's box. If we add handstand push-ups, why not planche or front lever or even crazy gymnastic moves with rings? Where would you draw the line? I think we could simply prohibit the statics and draw the line in the 90-degree handstand push-up for pushing strength and the front lever variations for pulling strength. Anything greater than that should not be added to routines. Imagine seeing 20 handstand push-ups, and then 60 dips, and then 60 pull-ups, and then 30 complete front lever raises. You could even add dragon flag type exercises between push and pull exercises to avoid too many cluster sets, or even add human flag exercises to the mix. Leave all the crazy skills to freestyle calisthenics skills competitions. One of the reasons I think some freestyle skills competitions are not that engaging is that, similar to gymnastics, the judging is qualitative and subjective. There is no clear number or easy way to tell if there is a tense situation. I'm not saying that skills are not good to look at, but they lack that factor. A lot of the things I said that could improve these competitions are actually found in Counter-Strike competitions, from the casters to the layouts. Adding all these things definitely needs more investment on the sport. They will require more coordination, more work, but they definitely will make endurance calisthenic competitions more compelling to watch, and therefore the popularity will rise and the participants could definitely monetarily benefit from a greater audience. There could even be an organization like UFC or NBA or CrossFit, both for endurance calisthenics or any type of calisthenics. A league with constant matches would be definitely cool. If you disagree or agree, feel free to discuss it in the comments.